Productivity is the real problem child within business. When you're looking for growth, so often the easiest path is simply to add more people, more process, more systems, more time and resource and so on. Sometimes it makes sense to take a step back and focus on less. So doing more with less, being more efficient. And that is all about productivity, which is a difficult topic. Because we like to talk about it, but it's not easy to nail down how to actually improve it. And the greatest drain on productivity can be explained in this short proverb. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. And you may have heard of this statement before. It's known as Parkinson's Law and was coined in 1955 by a guy called Cyril Northcote Parkinson, who was a famous naval historian and civil servant. Work expands to fill the time available. So people pace themselves to use the time allotted. It's simply human nature. And Parkinson originally quoted it in the context of government bureaucracy, but it extends much further than that. So have a think about it firstly from a personal context. If you allow yourself an hour to get ready for work in the morning, you'll use the full hour. But when you sleep in, you can do it in 10 minutes. Or maybe you're the world's most organised and driven individual and use your time very effectively. But what about your team? If you give your team 3 months to deliver a project, it'll take 3 months. But it probably could have been done in 3 weeks. Allow 2 hours for a meeting, it will take at least that long, even though 2/3 of it was of limited value. So when was the last time a project or a meeting finished ahead of time in your business? So Parkinson's Law happens first at the individual level, but when it progresses to a team and business environment, the drag on productivity can be enormous. So once you get this concept clear in your head, you'll be scared by how much waste there is within your business. So how can you work against Parkinson's Law to drive productivity up? Well, there's 5 things that you can do, and they are relevant in both an individual and in a team context. So the first thing to do is to make sure that you use deadlines effectively. Proper use of deadlines is the single most effective way to combat Parkinson's Law, which always strikes hardest when you have large tasks with faraway deadlines. Because if you allow too much time to complete a task or a project, the tendency is to slack off until it becomes urgent, then a miracle occurs in the final 2 days before the deadline. So if you have a larger project, break it down into bite-sized chunks, each with their own deadline. And instead of padding out your deadlines, challenge yourself. Make your deadlines tight and stay focused on what needs to be done. Just don't make your deadlines unrealistically short or you'll be no further in front. Next is to know when the job is done. See, one of the Parkinson traps you can fall into is not knowing what done looks like. There's always one more thing to do or one more refinement to be made, with the result being jobs that are picked up and put down multiple times and never seem to be complete. And this happens when you don't define the finish line of a task or project clearly. So being specific up front helps you to create the clarity that you need. And number 3 is don't multitask. So multitasking demonstrably doesn't work. Working on one task at a time, staying focused and allowing as few distractions as possible is the key to finishing. So don't start another task or project until the previous one has been taken all the way to completion. The next point is create incentives to finish early. One of the reasons that Parkinson's Law is so prevalent in business is because people rarely have the right incentives to complete tasks early. You finished already? Okay, here's some more work. Well, that was quick. We'll make sure to bring the deadline forward next time. So it doesn't need to be large, and it certainly doesn't need to be monetary, but making sure there is some level of incentive to finish a project early can be very effective. And then finally, have a clear progression. So one of the reasons why tasks or projects are held onto longer than necessary is when it isn't clear what's next. If you've planned ahead and know exactly what's next, it's logical to finish the task and move on. But if the progression isn't clear, it's very easy to stick to the current task or simply kill time for as long as you safely can. So if you know what's next, but have the discipline not to start until you've finished the previous task or project, completion will occur much quicker. So that's a brief background on Parkinson's law, what it means for you and your business, and how you can work against it to supercharge your productivity. So next time you find yourself complaining about not having enough time in the day to do what you need to do, stop and think, is that really the case? Or has Parkinson's set in?